Okay, so over the next few lectures, we're going to be focusing on insect structure and function, specifically on the topic of morphology. So what are our objectives? We're going to be talking about the basic morphology of an insect and the diversity of the various structures that exist on an insect's body. Now you'll notice with this picture here on the right-hand side that it demonstrates how diverse insects can be, even among one order, in this case the Coleoptera, or beetles. So why are we looking at the structures and functions of an insect? Basically, it's important because it gives an understanding of the external structure of the insect, which is necessary to interpret and appreciate the functions of the various insect designs, to allow the identification of insects and other arthropods, and to understand their biology and how to control them. So the outline for the next couple of lectures is that we're going to be talking about the exoskeleton and its function and structure, the general insect plan, which includes the three body regions, the head, the thorax, and the abdomen, and then insect diversity. So in this lecture, we're going to be focusing on the exoskeleton, which is also known as the integument or outside covering. So the exoskeleton is a key contributor to the success of insects, and this is because it provides so many advantages to the insect. So the functions of the exoskeleton include protecting the soft parts, such as the internal organs of the insect, providing muscular attachment and support. It's the site for sense organs, such as your antennae or your appendages, and it helps prevent desiccation or drying out. Now here are a couple things to think about. What do you think the exoskeleton looks like? Is it composed of a single layer or many layers? And if there are different layers, what is their purpose? So the exoskeleton actually has several layers. This includes the cuticle, which in and of itself has 3 layers, the epidermis, and the basement membrane. Now, knowing the basic composition of these layers can also help you with control strategies. For instance, using a contact insecticide which penetrates the layers. So let's talk about the cuticle a little bit. It's non-living, and it's the skeleton part of the exoskeleton. It's also a key contributor to the success of insects because it provides a barrier for living tissue and it restricts water loss. So the cuticle is composed of 3 different layers: the epicuticle, which is the outside layer, the exocuticle, which is the middle layer, and the endocuticle, which is the innermost layer. So let's talk about the epicuticle a little bit. It's on the very surface of the insect, it's thin and unpigmented, and some of the functions is it's very resistant to abrasions and helps with waterproofing. It is too thin for physical strength, and that's where other parts of the cuticle play a role. So the exocuticle is the middle layer, and it's a sclerotized or hardened layer, and therefore its function is to provide rigidity and strength for the exoskeleton. And finally, we have the endocuticle. This is the inner layer, and it's soft and flexible, which makes it very different from the exocuticle. Its function is to provide structure to the overall cuticle. So it's very important that you understand the basic layout of these 3 layers that fall within this cuticle and what their basic functions are. So what is the chemical composition of a cuticle? Well, it includes several components, including resilin, which forms a rubber-like framework. So this helps, for instance, in the attachment of appendages. It also has sclerotin, which helps give it strength and a hardened appearance. And then probably the one that I want you to remember the most is the carbohydrate chitin, which is a major component of the exocuticle and the endocuticle. So now that we've talked about the cuticle, let's move into the next layers of the exoskeleton, the epidermis and the basement membrane. Alright, so the epidermis is the living part of the exoskeleton, and its major function is to secrete a new cuticle. So as we've mentioned, the exoskeleton is a hard outer covering, and it limits the expansion of the insect's body. So we've discussed that periodically insects need to undergo a molt. By the molting process, it removes the old cuticular region and produces a new one. When we talk about the insect molting, it's not really losing that entire exoskeleton, but rather what it's losing is the cuticular region. So the epidermis is what secretes that new cuticle. Then finally, we have the basement membrane, and this is also a non-living part of the exoskeleton, just as the cuticle is. Its function is not known, but is possibly used as more protection.